Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play. Link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Alright, so welcome to this top 5 units video. So I've got 5 units for the Tyranids lined up here. So the purpose of these videos, and I've done a number already, done one for Space Wolves already, Drukhari I've done as well, Blood Angels, so you can check those out. It's just to call out what I reckon are some of the best units that are available. Check out the comment section, see what others are saying, what their favourite choices are. If you disagree with some of these, then leave your own entry in the comment section about which units you think are best. When I think about 9th edition, this is the angle we're coming from here, bearing in mind the way 9th edition now plays. It is different, definitely what plays differently as far as objectives and missions are concerned, so taking that into account for these choices as well. Alright, so I've got my top 5. We'll go in reverse order, so number 5 first, and then we'll save the best option till last. I'll try and cover all the tactical and justify why I'm putting these in the top 5 units that are available, and try and share as much tactics and loadouts and the way to use these in games just to help you out, so to show you which units to consider even for your own army and why you should be taking them. So number 5 is the Gene Stealers. So there's one, but they don't usually come in units like that. You usually get waves of them coming through. So if used well, Gene Stealers can be deadly. So we'll go through the stats and then ways you can enhance and get the most out of them. So for Gene Stealers then, they're working out 15 points of Rending Claws now for 9th edition. So as a base cost, it's pretty expensive for a unit that can be shot up quite quickly. Yet they are quick, their movement 8, weapon skill 3+, strength 4 and toughness 4, 1 wound, 3 attacks base, which is excellent, leadership 9, and then a 5+ save. With that 5+ save, they do get a 5+ invuln save on top of that as well, so that helps reduce some of the damage coming through. I'll talk about the weakness of these first of all, and that is that they can be shot to pieces and it can be an expensive loss to your army if they're destroyed. So you've got to think of ways of how do you prevent them from being shot to bits, which the opponent, if they're caught out in the open, the opponent sees them, they'll target them and they'll be destroyed. And even if some models survive, their effectiveness is really reduced. And then they're obviously geared towards close combats. How can you get the most out of that? So trying to keep them alive and trying to make them as high impact as possible is the 2 challenges for Gene Stealers. One option is, there's ways of bringing them in from reserve, but you're risking a charge failing. So the better way to use them, I think, is to maneuver them into position, deploy them on the table, and then maneuver them onto the board. So, or maneuver them up the board and around the board, and then line them up for a charge that's hopefully a lot closer than a 9-inch charge. So speed is crucial. They're an 8-inch move. What's great about them is that they can advance and charge, just as a standard rule. So swift and deadly, they can advance and charge during the same turn. So now you've got 8 inches plus d6, so between 1 and 6 inches. Then after that they can then charge as well, which is okay, but remember the durability, there's hardly any durability of them at all. So how to improve this base movement that we have here. One other thing to mention before I move on is you can improve their durability of, say, Catalyst to Psychic Power to give them a 5+ Feel No Pain. That can really help reduce the wounds coming through. But still, it's annoying when you start taking casualties with these. So for impact, I'd run units at the moment of 16 of them. Big units, 240 points, but that's 60 odd attacks with them on the charge. So will cover their potential in close combat actually. So 3 attacks base. If you have more than 10 in the unit, or 10 or more models in the unit, you get an extra attack on top of that. So you're looking at 60 odd attacks for 16 model units. Tons and tons of attacks. To make that even better, I run them, if I can, near a Broodlord, and the Broodlord gives them, within 6 inches, gives them +1 to the hit rolls. So those 60 odd attacks come through now hit on 2s, and that's exceptionally reliable in close combat. As standard, they're equipped with Rending Claws, so all their attacks come through at AP -1 at least. Strength 4, you're going to be wounding things like tougher targets like vehicles and so on, mostly on a 5+, but with that sheer volume of attacks come through, the wounds will come through. Any 6+ to wound is AP -4, so you're going to cut straight through the armour if you get those 6s. For every 4 models, so a 16 model unit, you'll get 4 of them can swap out their war gear for acid maws, which is really like power swords. Strength for the user, AP -3 and 1 damage. So I do that. It's well worth doing if you're trying to cut your way through regular Marines or Primaris Marines. The AP -3 is excellent. So, you know, 4 of them with 4 attacks each from that unit. So that's going to be 16 attacks come through as there at AP -3. I think it's really, really good. So that's their damage potential. I really think with the larger units you can vaporize and cut through stuff very, very quickly. And now to stand a chance against like Primaris units, and even with the new rules coming, Marine units going to get 2 wounds. You need tons of attacks. You've got to go for that wipe out, that killer blow with them. And so to do that, you need bigger units. So that's that then. That's their damage potential enhanced, +1 to hit rolls from the Broodlord, larger units to get an extra attack. All those things stack up to help out. And then now, how are we going to deliver them? Because going 8 inches each turn and then a move, it's going to take 3 turns to get into position. And by that time, the opponent, if they have any sense, would have blasted them to pieces. So I'll show you some things you can stack up to get the most out of these. The first thing is your Hive Fleet Kraken. So when you advance, you roll 3 dice and choose the best. So now you're looking at 3 dice, and then on average you're looking at about 5-inch move. With 1d6, it's very random. Oftentimes you're going to roll a 1 for your advance, but now 3d6 choosing the best, you're often going to get a real good advance move from them. Then on top of that, so you've got a nice advantage, or nice advance move. Then you can start using a stratagem here. If you're taking Hive Fleet Kraken, which is very advised here, it's opportunistic advance. Only costs 1 command point, so it's nice value to it. Use your stratagem in your movement phase when you roll dice for an advancing Kraken unit. You can double the number you roll and add that to the total of your movement characteristic. So now if you roll a 5 for advance, you roll 3d6, you get a 5 for advance, then now you're doubling that. So a 5-inch advance becomes a 10-inch advance. Now you've got 8 inches plus, say, 10 or 12 inches on top of that. And now that unit's going really, really quick up the table, just with the use of a Hive Fleet option and a 1 command point stratagem. So I think it's well worth doing that to get up the table even quicker. Then the other thing that you can go for is to use the Swarmlord, and this is a popular combination here. So you take the Swarmlord and his ability, as long as he's within 6 inches of a Genie Stealer unit. Hive Commander in each of your shooting phases, you can pick one for any Hive Fleet unit from within 6 inches of the Swarmlord. That unit can move and advance if you wish, as if it were the movement phase, instead of shooting. So you've moved in the movement phase, you've played opportunistic advanced and doubled your advanced roll. Then in the shooting phase you're moving again and advancing again. You can't use opportunistic advance in the shooting phase, but you've already used that in the movement, and it's restricted only to that phase, but it's still a 3d6 advance for the second time. So you're looking at a huge distance that you can travel, and the idea is that you can get these into combat on turn 1, which is the ideal situation for Tyranids. So big unit of them, tons of attacks, Broodlord support for 2s to hit, and then move, 3d6 advance choosing the best, then doubled, and then moving again in the shooting phase and advancing again, and then still being allowed to charge. A lot of the times, most of the time, you should be able to get a turn 1 charge here. So that's a scary aspect, a scary use that you can use for the Genestealers, and it's the best chance you have of using them effectively. If you're just moving up one turn after the next, the opponent's got time to bring them down with mortars and whirlwinds and infantry firepower and so on. Can bring them down very, very quickly, and so you just want to be able to just use them at the best strength possible, as quickly as possible, let them do their damage, and then anything else after that is a bonus. So that's my 5th choice, Genestealers, but only if used at their best potential with those extras that we've discussed. So number 4 is heavy support. These ones I highly recommend that you have in your army. So it's the Exocrine with its artillery firepower. I've learnt with Tyranids you really do need firepower support with them. Exocrine can provide that for you, and it's especially effective against your medium primacy type infantry, which is going to be coming up against that kind of target a lot of times now in 40k. So you got a toughness 8 beast here at 12 wounds with 3 up saves, so it's tough enough. The Bioplasmic Cannon is excellent. It's range 36, heavy 6, so you're guaranteed those 6 shots. It's not random like D6 shots. Strength 7, -3, and then 2 damage, which is very useful against Primaris type targets. It gets better. If you remain stationary, you can shoot twice, so you can get 12 shots a turn, which is brilliant. And then if this model doesn't move, it's +1 to the hit roll. So you're at 4+ for your ballistic skill, and that can become 3+. So actually for Tyranids, a 3+ to hit with shooting is quite rare, and is really, really good. So Exocrine firepower from that, I think, is great. There's not too much you can do to enhance that. There is a stratagem called Pathogenic Slime, where you can increase the damage of the attacks in the shooting phase by 1. It does cost 2 command points, so it's quite costly. But that means you can become damage 3 if you really need it, if there's a target with a lot of wounds to try and get through. But I found that damage 2 is pretty useful against the medium type infantry. I guess the pros for this is its toughness. It's a tough target to try and deal with. It's built like a tank. Toughness 8 is very, very good. So these are useful to sitting at the back of the board, holding on objectives, and then just providing firepower support for your other assault-based units that are moving up the board. But I found in games that the damage that can come from this has been excellent, a real bane to many heavy infantry types, and so excellent supporting firepower. That Tyranids, they really do need some kind of firepower support. So this is a good choice, and pretty good in points, 170 points, so quite reasonably priced. Points wise as well. Don't expect too much in close combat, just strength of the user, which is strength 7, AP -1 and 2 damage. With its powerful limbs, it just gets 3 attacks at best. So it's just firepower, durability, and because it's durable, it's good for anchoring and holding on to objectives at the back of the board. The Hive Fleet combination I go for with these is 2 options that you can take paired together from the Psychic Awakening book. First is Biosphere Consumption, so if it's turn 1 or if this monster remains stationary during the movement phase, it then receives a 6+ feel no pain, just to try and make it as survivable as possible. And then also to try and help it survive on the battlefield, I give it Metamorphic Regrowth, which grants an auto regen 1 wound per turn at the start of your movement phase, which again really, really helps out, just to try and keep the wounds up on these things as much as possible. So Exocrine makes it in at number 4. Then for number 3, a similar choice I've gone for, and that's the Tyranifix here as the 3rd option. So with the Tyranifix, much of what I've already talked about with the Exocrine. So the same Hive Fleet, 6+ feel no pain, automatically regenerating a wound as well. But with this, you're getting an even tougher beast, a toughness 8 but 14 wounds on this thing, so even more durability available with this. And if you add your 6+ feel no pain on top of that, and your regeneration of a wound per turn, you've got yourself a nice durable monster. And again, don't expect too much in close combat. With powerful limbs, just 4 attacks at strength 7, -1, 2 damage. So never even really think about close combat with this thing. It's all about the firepower that is available from this beast. And for this, again, you're getting double shooting with this if you sit still. So again, it's that tough target, anchoring on the home objectives, and then just providing your long-range firepower to help out the main assault as units push forwards. It is equipped with Stinger Salvos, range 24, assault 4, strength 5, -1 damage, so a little bit of firepower available from that, but the main point of taking it is the huge gun. Now, points wise, with the Rupture Cannon option, Stinger Salvo is now 0 points, and with the Rupture Cannon it works out 210 points. It's a fair amount of points, but not ridiculous, and well, for what you're getting I think it's worth it. So you can go for Acid Spray with Flesh Borer Hive or the Rupture Cannon. So some players do use the Acid Sprays. That's range 18. If you're going to go assaulty with this and use it as a supporting unit, you can equip it with the Acid Spray, which is heavy 2d6. So you're averaging about 6 shots, or 6 auto hits with this. Strength use AP -1 and D3 damage, which is alright. And then you've got the Flesh Borer Hive, range 18, heavy 20, strength 5, AP 0 and 1 damage. So that's okay, but really within my Tyranid list, I need a lot of help with anti-tank, so I've gone for the Rupture Cannon instead. So with that, at range 48, you can sit right at the back, and the range, you better see right the way up the board. Shooting wise, because of the height of this thing, it can see over a lot of terrain, so great for picking on targets, because you can see much of the battlefield because of the height of this thing, so that's usually not too much of a problem. Range 48, heavy 3, so nice guaranteed amount of shots, and again you're going to get that again if you sit still. You'll be able to shoot twice. And then here it is, this is the armor busting ability, strength 10, so 3s to wound pretty much every armored target that's out there, and then AP -3, so real bite off of the armor value, and then D6 damage, so you can get some real nasty results with that. So if you sit still, if you remain stationary and fire 6 shots, you should be getting a good number of hits, and then your wounds should come flowing through, and it will cause trouble for all armoured targets, unless they've got some really good invuln save. You can expect to be causing a fair bit of damage with the Tyranifix. My current list of 2,000 points, I have 2 of them, because it's a bit of a loss if you lose one. You've lost a bit of anti-tank, but 2 of them with a crossfire anti-tank shots coming through up the board is quite scary. So I've got some decent weapons beasts here to really help support the Tyranid main attack, and at the same time I can anchor them with 9th edition objectives spread sort of across the board. I can move these out perhaps onto flank objectives, either they're already there at the start of the game, or they move out onto them and then just park themselves there, and then after that they just hold that objective and just kick out the firepower 1 turn after the next, double shooting for remaining stationary. So that's the Tyranifix, heavy firepower sport. I think decent anti-tank ability with that unit option. So that's him. By all means, if you disagree with some of these choices, that's number 3, then leave that in the comments section. The next one, usually I show you units that I have, but this unit I don't have, but I rate it, and I really need to get a hold of it as quickly as possible. And again, it's along the lines of firepower support, and it's Hive Guard. So I don't have any models to show you at this point. I hope to paint some up soon for my Tyranid army, but this video is the point of calling out units that are really good, whether I have them or not. But Hive Guard, as you'll see, their firepower is pretty good, and there's some great bonuses for these. So you're looking at smaller models here. They're toughness 5 and 3 wounds each, with 4 up save. Again, close combat's not really the idea behind these. It's more the Impaler Cannon I want to go for here. Range 36, heavy 2, so 2 shots per model. Strength 8, so really good if you are going to go after vehicles or any infantry types. AP -2, so nice bite off of the armor, and then damage of just D3. But if you start to mass these in a larger unit, then multiple D3 damage can definitely cause trouble. This weapon can target units not visible to the bearer, so that is huge. They act like mortars, so you can hide the unit away and then just do long range mortar type firepower. Range 36 is excellent. If you are able to hide them, then you can deploy them quite high up within your deployment zone. If you know they're going to be hidden away, then they'll be quite safe from incoming enemy firepower. And there's no units attacked by this weapon do not gain any bonus for being in cover as well. So your AP is quite low, it's AP -2, but you're negating cover, so that helps towards that for sure. So I think this is excellent. They're 50 points a time now with the Impaler Cannon. So unit of 3 is 150 points. I'm tempted to go for large units of these, potentially. And then what I want to check here is if you can use pathogenic slime on them. No, you can't. It's for monsters only, so you can't get that +1 damage on those. What I'm thinking with these is, because you can hide them, and because they can sit there and just kick out that firepower every turn, is to bury them and hide them during the game, and then just as long as you can get those shots off every turn of the game, then you'll definitely get the value out of them. So the key is to hide them away and then just let them fire every turn at different targets. So I don't think they're going to cause too much trouble in one round of shooting, but if they're firing it for every turn of the game, then yeah, they're going to cause damage across the board. And the fact that the units can't hide because they don't need line of sight is big. Very useful for mopping up smaller units of infantry that are perhaps camping out on objectives. Then you don't need to see them, but you can shoot at them and try and pick them off. Very good. What I think you can do though, let's just check if you can use something else here. By all means, if I miss something, then leave it in the comment section, but I think you can use a stratagem here. Yeah, it's single-minded annihilation. 2 command points. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase. Select an infantry unit from your army. You can shoot twice. Now that's pretty big here, especially for a bigger unit of these. Are they infantry? The answer is yes, they are. Infantry and Hive Fleet keywords. So there you go. You get to shoot twice. So you can't get the +1 damage, but you can shoot twice, and that is big, especially if you have a big unit of them. So that's why I'm rating these very highly. Indeed, I think the large unit of them, hidden away, hard to kill, and then just kicking out that kind of firepower one turn after the next. And what's to stop, if you have the command points, what's to stop them from shooting twice every turn? Yeesh. Yeah, that's why they're number 2. They could even, maybe they should be number 1. But that's the second choice, Hive Guard. I think they're going to be particularly useful, so I've called them out here as my second choice, and so I need to get a hold of a unit of these as soon as possible. So that's number 2. We'll go on to the final choice now. So my last option, and this is a unit that needs to be used correctly to justify its place at number 1. It's the Swarmlord. Very popular choice for Tyranid players, but if used incorrectly, he'll be a waste of points if he's shot to bits very early in the game. So the Swarmlord, and a really beautiful model collector-wise, this is one of my favourite Tyranid models that I have. Fantastic. It's the plastic Hive Tyrant kit. It's the Swarmlord's one of the options. Regular Hive Tyrant's an option, but look at those bone sabres. I've mounted him on a base here with some rocks, put some skulls around him, just to make him look a bit more mean and menacing. So, first of all, he's toughness 7, 12 wounds, got 3 up save, he has a 4 up invuln save. In close combat that goes up to 3+, which is really, really good. But he's got 12 wounds, so the opponent, if he sees him, can shoot him. He's not going to be protected. So that's one of the downsides with him. If he walks out into the open or joins in with an initial main attack, the opponent's going to see him and go for him. He's 270 points. So if he's lost early in the game, it's a big point sink for you. So my tactic with him is to hide him the first few turns of the game, because he has another job to do. And then once the coast is clear, that the few turns of the game, usually 9th edition, a lot of damage has been caused in most games. And that means that there's a lot less firepower. So if he does emerge out of cover, then the opponent's got a lot less left to try and bring him down. So the main use for him on turns 1 and 2 is here with Hive Commander. In each of your shooting phases, you can pick one friendly Hive Fleet unit within 6 inches of the Swarmlord. That unit can move and advance if you wish, as if it were the movement phase. So his job is to help my Gene Stealer units move up the table as quick as possible in the first 2 turns of the game. So turn 1, Gene Stealer moves up, advances, and then as long as it remains within 6 inches, it's then allowed to move again, advance again, and then shoot. So his job is to, like a commander, to move on these waves of infantry first, to send them on ahead, and then after that he then moves up by himself. So that's his job on turn 1, sending in a large unit of Gene Stealers. Then turn 2, sending in another large unit of Gene Stealers, and a bit of the battle's taken place, some damage has been caused, and then turn 3 onwards, he then moves out when the coast is semi-clear for him to move without too much damage, hopefully coming in against him if he needs to, or he can hide away. So that's his job on the first 2 turns of the game. And really, there's no shooting of him. He's equipped for close combat, so it is a bit of a shame if he never reaches close combat. So I do like to try and use him aggressively to go after enemy units. So similar to the Gene Stealers, an issue is speed, how quickly he can maneuver into position to be able to charge. So first things here is his movement's actually pretty good. It's 9-inch move, which is actually nice and quick for a monster. So 9 inches is fast enough. If he does take damage, he drops right down to 5. So again, it's a big reason to try and preserve him as much as possible to keep him healthy. His synapse is excellent, range 18. He is a psyker, so we'll cover that as well in just a moment. But we're trying to talk about ways of speeding him up. So the first thing you can do is go for Hive Kraken. 3d6 choosing the best for your advance. And then you can go for the opportunistic advance stratagem as well, and where you're rolling your 3d6 for advancing, and then once you have that number you can double it for advance. So you've got a 9-inch move, and say you roll 3d6, you get a 6, you then double that, it's another 12 inches advance. So massive amount of movement available from him. If you need him to maneuver and not worry about charging, you just want to get him into position, then you can go for here, Metabolic Overdrive. Select a unit from your army. After you've moved it, you can make a second move. You just have to roll a dice, don't roll a 1. If you do, it's just a mortal wound. But you cannot shoot and you cannot charge. But if you really need to get somewhere quick, then it's just another opportunity to move. So even quicker available there. So let's say you have moved and you've advanced. We'll try and get it so you can attack close combat, and with that you can use Onslaught. Warp charge value of 6, you can give it to himself or you can give it to another Psyker to help him out. If manifested, select a friendly 2-inch unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. That unit can shoot this turn even if it advanced, so on and so on. Then it says in addition, that unit can charge this turn even if it advanced. So now you've got a 9-inch move, 3d6 choosing the best, potentially doubling that with the strategy and the movement phase, and then being allowed to charge on top of that as well. So all of a sudden, this monster, which most players will think, oh, it's a Tyranids monster, it's just going to be moving around 6 inches around the board, but all of a sudden you could kick out a 20-inch move with this thing and really catch the opponent out. So that's how you can maneuver him quickly around the table, and it's surprising how fast he can go, which, you know, tactically is really good to try and catch your opponent out, which can happen a lot of the time. So now you're charging in against something and really is equipped to take on the nastiest of targets. So survivability, he can take a 3+ invuln save in close combat. Excellent. Then to remember that he can take Adrenaline Surge is costly, it's 3 command points, but he can fight again at the end of the fight phase, so attacking with him twice. When he does fight, he's on 6 attacks at 2s to hit. He's always on 2s to hit, whatever his damage, his attacks just drop from 6 to 5 to 4. And then you can hit with the Bone Sabers. Strength of the user, which starts at strength 8, which is really, really good. AP minus 3, and then it's a guaranteed 3 damage every time, which is excellent again. Each time you make a wound roll of a 6+, it's a mortal wound in addition to any other damage on top of that as well. So he really is quite nasty in combat, and he can absorb damage coming through as well with his 3+ invuln save available for him. So then on top of that, to cause more damage, say he's going in against a target that is very tough or has a lot of wounds or has decent invuln saves and so on, then to try and soften up the target, remember he is a Psyker, so you can give him Smite, and then I usually like to give him, to cause even more damage, give him Psychic Scream. Psychic Scream is like a Smite, its range, or its the value is 5. If manifested, the nearest enemy unit of an 18 suffers D3 mortal wounds, and so the potential of causing 2 D3 mortal wounds to soften up that target before you go in for the charge. So that's well worth bearing in mind. And then the other two options I take is either Onslaught given to him to let him advance and attack, or Catalyst is another option to give him that 5+ feel no pain, because he is a bit of a fire magnet, and so you want to try and get him to survive. Then you've got that invuln save plus the feel no pain really does stop a lot of wounds from coming through. And you really want to try and keep this guy alive because you've spent so many points on him, 270 points. You lose him on turn 1 because you've moved out recklessly with him. It's a real waste. So I've put him at number 1 for the Swarmlord, but it's on condition that you use him correctly. So what I've tried to show you is the best options available for him. If you know of any other enhancements, little tricks that you can do, then as I said before, leave it in the comments section. This video is there to help you with tactics for Tyranids, whether you're considering collecting Tyranids, or whether you have them but you don't have too much experience, or whether you're a veteran Tyranids player. The idea is this video is a help and really sort of a focal point where Tyranids players can pick up some tips to help them out in games. But that's my top 5 here for the Tyranids. So we talked about Genestealers, the Exocrine, the Tyranifix. Then they're not present at the moment, but the Hive Guard with their firepower, and then number 1 is the Swarmlord as my top 5 choices for the Tyranids. Leave your own comments and suggestions, change the order around, bring in other units that you think are really good. If you do think other units are really good, then say why in the comments section. Appreciate any comments coming through, are great for these videos, and remember to hit the thumbs up on the video as well. For painting tutorials, there is a Tyranids painting tutorial here on YouTube, and there's the in-depth painting tutorial also available on the Plus channel as well. Keep a lookout for more top 5 videos. Hope to make them for all my factions, all being well. And complete army videos available as well. Check out the Tyranid complete army video. It should be live on the channel as well. That's the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.